Next on the news, the Bishop of Brooklyn, Robert Brennan, joined students from local Catholic schools to teach them about the impact of the Rosary on their lives.
A Category 1 hurricane shut down the entire island.
The people of Puerto Rico dealing with devastation, no power and no clean water in the wake of Hurricane Fiona. And he's a newly created cardinal from the August consistory. We'll hear from the prelate from Colombia about his harrowing kidnapping 2 decades ago. Plus, they are hundreds of couples celebrating a very special anniversary. We'll hear their secrets for a long and happy marriage. I'm Christine Persichetti. Currents News starts right now. They're learning the significance that praying the Rosary can have in your life at an early age. It's one of the most significant prayers for Catholics, and October is the month of the Holy Rosary. Now, DeSales Media Group, the communications and technology arm of the Diocese of Brooklyn that operates Net TV, is filming a Rosary Rally with Bishop Breton and students from 5 Catholic Academies across the diocese. Currents News' Jessica Easthope has the story from the Immaculate Conception Center in Douglaston.
Exploring their faith outside the classroom. Students from 5 Catholic Academies in the Diocese of Brooklyn experienced the Rosary like never before.
I really felt honored for that because that's just once in a while, once in a lifetime.
On Tuesday, DeSales Media Group, the communications and technology arm of the Diocese of Brooklyn that operates Net TV, filmed the 2022 Rosary Rally at the Immaculate Conception Center in Douglaston. 75 students prayed the Rosary with Bishop Robert Brennan and Superintendent Deacon Kevin McCormick in 5 different languages.
It's important that they see the Rosary as an important tool for drawing close to God, but seeing other children praying the Rosary and saying, oh wow, we have something in common here.
I was taken back by it, by the ability of these kids to pray and the ability for the Lord to hear us each in such a unique way. It made it very special.
A Rosary Rally hasn't been done like this since before the pandemic. Father Joseph Jabino had the students sit together in the shape of a human rosary while they prayed in English, Polish, Mandarin, Spanish, and Creole.
We so often hear that youth are the church of the future. No, they're the church of now. So here is an opportunity for the diocese to be led in prayer by our youth and young adults.
It was cool to see many different cultures coming together. It was nice to see how peaceful people can be together.
The rally, which will air on Net TV in October, shows viewers there's a lot to learn from students and that how we worship is reflected in the diversity of the Diocese of Brooklyn.
I think it's an opportunity for them to also listen and maybe try to learn.
Bring unity. I think that's the #1 word for today is unity. That's what we heard in that room today. We are the Diocese of Immigrants and we brought unity today.
Not only will the Rosary Rally air on Net TV, it will be distributed to the schools in the Diocese of Brooklyn to be used in class and faith formation programs. In Douglaston, Jessica Easthope, Currents News.
The Rosary Rally with Bishop Brennan will air on the Feast of Our Lady of the Rosary, Friday, October 7th, after Currents News at 7:30 p.m. It's been a busy few days for Bishop Breton. He just celebrated a special Mass on Catechetical Sunday, blessing the students and catechists as they begin their new year of faith formation. The bishop joins us now to discuss the diocese's religious education program and the importance of it. Hi, Bishop. Nice to see you again.
It's nice to see you, Christine.
All right, I know the Diocese of Brooklyn has a big faith formation program. What makes this ministry stand out, and why do you plan to visit more of the classes in the coming months?
It's an important part of our diocesan work. I mean, one of the chief works of the Catholic Church is to teach the gospel, to proclaim the gospel. And so in every parish, we have committed people who want to share their faith. So my goal is, first of all, to encourage those catechists, to thank them for their remarkable work, but also to be part of that formation with the young people. I've always enjoyed catechetical ministry. Even when I was on Long Island, for example, I would visit and I had my own classes. Catechetical ministry is a big uplift. It's a great thing to be able to share your faith with our young people.
Absolutely, and the Vatican wants lay people to have a bigger role in evangelization, so becoming a catechist would be a way to do that. But many people, a lot that I've spoken to, are afraid to volunteer as catechists because, they don't think they're qualified. So how does the diocese get people to become catechists? How does the church prepare them?
First of all, very often it comes at the parish level where a pastor identifies people or asks people to step forward. And, if you're not ready to be a catechist, if you think you're interested but you're not too sure, there are other ways of contributing to the catechetical ministry. And those other ways may actually lead to becoming a catechist. So there are people who take part in some of the inner workings, preparing the materials for the classes. There are aides. Sometimes people team teach catechetical classes, and you get a feel for it. In the meantime, the diocese is offering ongoing formation programs, and we ask our catechists. We ourselves want to make sure that our catechists know their faith and are able to explain it in a way that the young people can understand it. So we don't just throw people into the classroom willy-nilly. We ask our catechists to take part in these ongoing faith formation programs.
Good, so they don't go in there blind. And obviously the students are children who don't attend Catholic schools, so they have these religion classes once a week. Do you think one class a week is enough?
Our classes are only a part of the whole. Clearly, one class a week is not enough, but really, that's just a part of the work of formation. Formation, of course, begins at home. So the documents of Vatican II are very clear. The parents are the first teachers of their children in the ways of faith, the domestic church. So what we're doing in our parishes is really complementing and supplementing what parents are doing at home all the time. As you would imagine, there are different levels. Wouldn't it be great if every family had that ongoing formation? That's not always the case, but we try to supplement what happens at home. Secondly, a lot takes place in the parish just in the practice of the faith, going to Mass, doing works of service, living around the parish. So that happens in a lot of other ways. So catechetical ministry isn't simply limited to one class a week. Really, individual, family to make that investment.
Absolutely. I was going to ask you about the parents' involvement in this. And another thing about having enough religious education, these classes usually end after a child receives a sacrament of confirmation. I know I was confirmed in 6th grade, but I know a lot of kids now, it's in 8th grade or even in high school when you're confirmed. Should faith formation classes continue after confirmation, though?
What is generally happening now in our diocese, as in many other dioceses, is the transitions into youth ministry. We try to dispel the idea that formation, forget about classes. That's what we don't always talk about the word classes. Formation is much broader than classroom experience. So a lot of parishes transition into youth ministry, which continues the formation but has a different track to it. I have to say a word of appreciation to the Catholic Foundation, because the Catholic Foundation saw this as a need, and they've been helping parishes to fund youth ministry programs and opportunities. And then we try to do things on that broader scale. So it's not so much that it ends after 8th grade or after confirmation, but it transitions to something new. Again, it's up to the individual and up to the family to take advantage of these opportunities. And we really hope that our young people will do that.
And I guess for young kids, a youth ministry sounds a lot better than a class. Bishop Robert Brennan from the Diocese of Brooklyn, thanks so much for joining us.
Thank you.
Also tonight, people in Puerto Rico rescued from flood-ravaged neighborhoods. There's no power and no water.
We are still in the zone of danger and not out and about.
Right now on Currents News, the aftermath of Fiona. The hurricane has moved on to other parts of the Caribbean as it picks up strength, but the storm left behind a massive path of destruction in Puerto Rico, and residents are coping with horrible living conditions. Now the head of FEMA is traveling there to assess the damage.
The streets were flooded, and it was very dangerous, and it was scary.
Especially when the rains from Hurricane Fiona came inside his home.
Water was just coming in, pouring into the house.
The Category 1 storm ravaged Puerto Rico nearly 5 years to the day Hurricane Maria, a Category 5 storm, hit the island. But officials there say Fiona's flooding is worse.
Yes, Hurricane Maria brought about 40 inches, but it was in a specific area along the center of the island. That's not the case with Hurricane Fiona. It brought rain all over the island, and many of the areas and suburban areas were completely flooded.
There have been more than 1,000 rescues, and more than 1 million people were still without power and many without water 2 days after the storm made landfall. The island-wide blackout caused Christian Ortiz and his wife Crystal to temporarily move into a hotel. Christian works for DeSales Media, parent company of Currents News. He was in Puerto Rico during Maria and says the slight improvements to the infrastructure since then didn't hold up.
But the proof is in the pudding. If a Category 1, which was a tropical storm an hour before it hit Puerto Rico, knocked out the entire grid again and took out the water, obviously not much has been done.
He says pressure needs to be put on the island's government to enact change. Senator Chuck Schumer is calling out the power companies.
The situation is a disaster. Enough is enough. The Puerto Rican Energy Bureau must push PREPA and LUMA not only to restore power, but to once and for all create a distributed, more resilient grid, and we will back them up.
For now, Christian and other residents just have to wait.
At this point, we're just trying to survive and get through the next couple of days.
Help is coming for Puerto Ricans from New York State. Governor Kathy Hochul announced Monday she will send 100 state troopers to the island. Also ready to go with them are teams from the New York Power Authority to help the 1 million residents without power. After hitting Puerto Rico Sunday and the Dominican Republic on Monday, the hurricane barreled towards the Turks and Caicos Islands on Tuesday. The National Hurricane Center says Fiona will continue to strengthen into a Category 4 hurricane, and there's a warning for Bermuda as it draws closer to the island. Catholic Charities USA is working with its partners in Puerto Rico to assess the damage from Hurricane Fiona and is preparing to help people on the island in any way they can. To help them in their efforts, just go to CatholicCharitiesUSA.org. You'll see an area where you can donate to the survivors of Fiona right on their homepage. The trial in Hong Kong for Chinese Cardinal Joseph Zen just got underway, but now it's been delayed. The judge presiding over the case has tested positive for COVID-19. Zen and 5 other defendants are accused of participating in a humanitarian fund that backed pro-democracy protesters in 2019. Zen, who's 90 years old, could face fines and possible jail time if convicted. To Ukraine now, and the representative for Pope Francis prayed before a mass grave in the city of Izium. Cardinal Konrad Krajewski said there were neither words nor tears, adding that only prayer can alleviate the heart so burdened by pain. The site was discovered soon after the city was liberated by Ukrainian forces. This is the 4th time the Polish-born cardinal has visited Ukraine since Russia's invasion back in February. There's a lot more news headed your way. He was just named a cardinal by Pope Francis, but now a prelate from Colombia is sharing his story of how he was kidnapped 20 years ago. We'll hear it in his own words next. They landed in Martha's Vineyard. Now there's a criminal probe into how a group of migrants actually got there. And hundreds of couples celebrating a milestone anniversary together. Next, their secrets to a long and happy marriage.
There are now some big changes to the tablet website. You can get personalized access to the Catholic news you value. Sign up for free at thetablet.org.
In August, Pope Francis welcomed 20 new cardinals into the church. The prelates represent 16 countries, but they also play a huge role in the universal church. One of those new cardinals has an interesting personal story to tell. He was kidnapped. Annalise Taggart spoke with him.
Jorge Jimenez Carvajal is one of the new cardinals created in the August consistory. He comes from Colombia, where he is also Archbishop Emeritus of Cartagena de Indias. In 2002, he was kidnapped by the Revolutionary Armed Forces of Colombia, together with another priest. In that moment, he says he remembered a phrase from the Bible. His tongue clung to the roof of his mouth.
They started walking us along some tortuous roads, and at that moment my tongue clung to the roof of my mouth. I tried to start praying a rosary. They prevented me. They insisted that I should not speak, but I was still babbling the Hail Mary, and I said, "This is what we call fear."
Cardinal Jimenez was traveling with a caravan of cars to celebrate the confirmation of a group of young people in San Antonio de Aguilera, a small Colombian town. The guerrillas intercepted the convoy to take the then bishop and ordered the rest of the cars to leave, but Father Desiderio Orjuela, who was with them, refused. He preferred to be taken away as well.
I was fortunate during the kidnapping because I was kidnapped with a priest. And to him they said, "You go ahead. There are several cars behind us. You guys go ahead." And he said, "No, I don't leave my bishop alone." And that saved me, I think.
Jorge Enrique Jimenez and Desiderio Orjuela accompanied each other, and together, with their faith, they were able to survive their kidnapping.
We lived this experience. We prayed the rosary together. We asked them and insisted they give us a Bible so we could pray the Psalms, but it was never possible. But all the time we were in the presence of God. It comforted us a lot. Colombia has suffered a lot because of drug trafficking.
After 8 days, they were freed by a special operation of the Colombian army. It was a brief experience, but one that deeply impacted the now Cardinal.
That was Annalise Taggart reporting. Because Cardinal Carvajal is 80 years old, he cannot vote in the next papal conclave. But some older cardinals still participate in pre-conclave meetings devoted to preparatory matters and discussions about the future of the church. An important meeting happening at the Vatican soon will help the church figure out what a modern saint looks like. The Dicastery for the Causes of Saints, which helps look into the sainthood causes of past Christians, will hold the 3-day conference during the first week of October. Members of the Dicastery, as well as theologians, scholars, and communications experts, will focus on 2 elements that determine sainthood in modern times: fame of sanctity and a candidate's heroic virtue.
What is fame today? If we measure it with likes, then there are many people much more famous than any saint. What do we mean by being heroic in exercising virtue? Is sanctity something muscular? No, sanctity is a response to a call from God.
The conference is expected to end with an audience with Pope Francis, who has the final say over whether a canonization cause is accepted. The migrant crisis now reaching another boiling point. A Texas sheriff now opening an investigation into how 48 Venezuelan migrants were transported from the state to Martha's Vineyard. Mike Valerio has the latest.
The outrage from Bexar County Sheriff Javier Salazar was clear as he announced his investigation into the Martha's Vineyard migrants' flight.
I believe that they were preyed upon. Somebody came from out of state, preyed upon these people, lured them with promises of a better life, which is what they were absolutely looking for.
A Venezuelan man at a migrant resource center in San Antonio said he was approached to help fill a flight out of Texas, offered a deal for free food and a free hotel, a deal he thought that was too good to be true. Stop doing it, the man said. If you're going to help people, do it out of your heart. Don't utilize us immigrants. We don't want to be used as toys in your political games. Florida Governor Ron DeSantis defended his actions.
They were hungry, homeless. They had no opportunity at all. The state of Florida, it was volunteer, offered transport to sanctuary jurisdictions.
It all comes as the U.S. has intercepted more than 2 million migrants along the southern border, driven by influxes of people from Nicaragua, Venezuela, and Cuba. Texas says it's bused more than 11,000 migrants to Washington, D.C., Chicago, and New York.
11,600 asylum seekers and migrants are here in the city. 8,500 are in our system. We opened up 23 emergency shelters. We're not going to leave any stone unturned.
Mike Valerio, Currents News.
Catholic bishops in Texas are calling out the politicians who are bussing out migrants. On Twitter, San Antonio Archbishop Gustavo Garcia Siller said, "To use migrants and refugees as pawns offends God, destroys society, and shows how low individuals can be. We pray for conversion of heart. God protect our sisters and brothers in need." Bishop Daniel Flores of Brownsville also speaking out, saying the degrading disrespect with which immigrants are treated in this country like pawns in games of political showmanship is a disgrace. Are we so drunk on our own power that we are blind to basic human dignity? Judgment on Christians who disrespect the poor will be most severe. Still to come on Currents News, it's a place where you can take and leave items for pets. But this dog library in one neighborhood also has a very special meaning behind it. And there are hundreds of couples all marking a special anniversary. Next, their secrets to a long and happy marriage. Do you have a story idea or want to share a tip? Email us at newstips@desalesmedia.org or call our 24-hour number, 718-517-3122. We'll be right back. You may have heard of those tiny libraries where people leave and take books from little wooden houses in their neighborhoods. Well, now a Minneapolis community has a dog library where people can drop off and take items for their pets. People can share old and new items at the location that was set up by a group of neighbors who have all lost a dog over the past year. The names of the pets are displayed on the library. Not only do the neighbors hope people stop by and take something from the library, they also accept donations too. Nice. They are 300 couples in Chicago celebrating milestone anniversaries. And after being married for 50 years, they all decided to renew their vows. Michelle Gallardo reports on what their secrets are for a long and happy marriage.
We just have been together, seems like forever. And it's been a good 50 years.
50 years, a half century. It is an entire lifetime, and for the approximately 300 couples celebrating their golden anniversary at Holy Name Cathedral, these have been 50 years filled with children and grandchildren, joy and laughter, sadness and pain. And while their hands may not be as smooth as they were in 1972, they're still joined for better and for worse.
I came here, I was 20 years old, and I met those guys. We know each other only for 2 weeks.
That's it. Renewing their vows to each other during a highly emotional service, these couples from all over the Chicago area were joined by their families during this very special celebration.
It was very emotional. Yes. I hadn't thought about coming here, but when you're in there and you start thinking about 50 years that have gone by and all the experiences we've had together.
In an era where it seems not many are willing to put in the hard work that leads to a 50th wedding anniversary, these couples shared some of their secrets, both serious and not so serious. What's the secret of 50 years of marriage?
Never go to bed angry.
We may not be lucky at cards, but we're always lucky at love.
Be it negative or positive, you have to communicate. You can't read each other's minds. You have to communicate.
But sense of humor is very important.
And I learned one thing, she's always right.
And that is a fact. The woman is always right. That was Michelle Gallardo reporting. The Diocese of Brooklyn is also helping couples mark milestone anniversaries with a special mass this coming Saturday, September 24th. Husbands and wives, regardless of anniversary year, will be at Resurrection Ascension Church in Rego Park to renew their wedding vows. Bishop Brennan will be the main celebrant. And that is Currents News. I'm Christine Persichetti. Thank you for joining us because we are putting your faith in the news. Hope to see you again next time.